Hi, I'm Jeremy. Welcome to our farm, Cornucopia Orchards. A few little changes that we've had over the past couple of days. Just over the weekend, we went and got some swings for the boys, trying to find more stuff for them to do on the farm that isn't getting into trouble, as little boys will do. And you can see I'm standing next to a pathway through the lawn here. We'd helped this neighbor out by taking a bunch of extra logs and rounds last year that she didn't want. She had a bunch of trees removed, and so we'd just thrown them right over the fence and stored them right up in here. And we've moved them up towards the chicken area so that I can process those logs. I have a family member who wants them, and we'll make good use out of them. We don't have obviously a fireplace yet, and won't for quite some time. It's one of the things that we can hold off on, but I did take all the longer pieces through here, and as much of this is needed to fill. Just a family that needs firewood so that we can use this while it's still in really good shape. Second year is when you should be curing your wood too in general. One summer can be enough under lots of circumstances, but 1 year cure is good. The boys are really enjoying the oak round pile being in a new spot. But here's the detail that we went back and forth on. So on all these step downs, we've elected to put these little verticals that will delineate the end of the run just as if it were a corner, and they're a particular size in width. That's because of this one. If we made this one 7 inches, which is large, then that's a true 16 from there to there, and not have to put in like some teeny tiny little strip of board here, and then or alternated, still would look really bad. And so then we just went with the same size for the other ones. And then since we were going to go ahead and do them, I went ahead and capped each one of them. So each of these pieces where they're horizontal, we went ahead and put a flashing metal flash on. Same as we did the windows, so they have the little bend up at the outsides to help make sure the water doesn't weep off the edges. It just comes down the face. And the reason we chose to put these on after some decision making, because the plans didn't call for them, they just showed the siding ending with slash 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 of the horizontal overlap, purely aesthetic. So we just decided it was going to look better, or at least that we would prefer it that way, and so that's ultimately why they're there. I do get to put a caulk line on that end, just like all of the other ends are protected by being behind caulk at a corner or in the center field with caulk at the butt joints. All right, first 2 big boards are on, little ones in the corner are on, and you'll notice that I am using these. This section had to be ripped in order to fit in. This first long board had to be ripped from that spot down to here, just the way that it worked out. I thought I had it figured out in the layout, but I didn't. So it's 2 3/8 off, which is a little more than we're doing for the basically what gives us the correct reveal. And so I have to lift that up and nail it in. But it does demonstrate that gecko gauges, while not long enough for my project, are very useful. Note about this thing here, it is causing me some issues. I had this nice piece all cut out and I'm fairly certain it would have all fit in. So it's a notching around there, and come up and go over, like this, basically that whole length. And it's 2 pieces now because I can't get it to fall in behind that plastic. And the plastic that has the, the reveal cover, that case, that's flashed back to the wall. So it's already covered by these sheets. So cut in half. I'll have to do my best on that caulk line. It's going to be, I think, on this side, and then repainted. Super silly. All right, so show your mistakes time. So this wall here has 2 mistakes on it. And thankfully these boards are such a large board that's a little bit hard to see. But the spacing here is 9 7/8, and it's less up here. And that was just a mathematical error on my part. Forgot to account for this space down here, essentially. Down here, the problem is worse. And this happens, I see this a lot. This little strip at the top, you work your way up, and then whatever at the top is what you have cut that's left. So it's not a huge deal, but I could have accounted for it, and I thought I'd accounted for it on the bottom. What I wanted is for this being the widest, biggest space to be, full board all the way up, and the spacing was actually really close. I could have done it. Unfortunately, I started here and I messed up in these first set of boards, and then I didn't realize until I was all the way up to here. I want to rip all that off. I thought I had figured it out to account for it, and then misunderstood this whole situation. So on this wall behind me, I was using a story pull, basically a pull where I marked everything off onto the piece of wood and then transferred those marks to the wall, so I would know, a consistent, and this is really level. We did a good job on that, this band board. And so, we'd have a consistent thing to work off of. And when I did that, I mistakenly put the board up here at its full 12 inches. And then instead of taking all of the marks as not inclusive of the overlap, I took them as inclusive of the overlap. And because this was full size, that meant that this last board, in order for this to have worked, I would have had to shifted this all the way up and had no overlap right here. And I had originally actually marked off this wall correctly, where it was just, from the top down at the 9 7/8 inch spacing. So confused myself and set this up incorrectly. And it's something that's going to bother me. And I've already had several people who've come by and had no comment, including someone who knows about siding, works for a siding company. So common enough, but will always be something that I'll know. So here's my layout stick, and it's been corrected, and I've done 2 things with it. So the first is on this edge at the top, I've cut off just enough to where the pencil is going to sit and give me 9 7/8 right here from the last mark. And then on the bottom, on the other side, I've given myself 3/8, and then that allows me to, mark the wall for the bottom of the first board to make sure that that is spaced up, and to where when I set this on the, the pan, the drain pan, whatever you want to call it, the flashing, it's not going to mess up, and, I don't have to try and monkey with it to get it correct. little bed here is one of the ones that just got devastated by deer, and I've been really pleased to see that the spray I used this time seems to have helped a lot. That Polonia hasn't been attacked, knock on wood on my head here. And all of these squash have recovered enough that they're gonna, do something with their time, and kind of just decorative. But there's a little cutie in there and a green stripedy one right in there. And, just ground cover and interest at least, while the other plants hopefully recover. So funny things that get you excited when you're building a house and you're cheap. Well, the next board here dries for all the cut spots. Got to go around that box and whatnot. And then the end. I measured this out, get started on cutting this section. And we are 38 and about 3/4. So if I take that down to about 38 and 3/8, that ends up being 191.625 when you multiply it out to get out of a 16-foot board. And 16 foot is 192. So presumably from the saw blades, I might be a tiny bit short on the last one. But other than that, that's about as close as you can get. All right, so we ended up at 38 and an eighth instead of 3/8. So we're off by 1/4. I think the bottom is a little bit less. I'm willing to caulk it and cover it. That's fantastic. So 2 boards, and I didn't run out. I had nothing extra on those boards. It came out almost perfect. Some of those gaps are like 1/4. Not what they should be, but yeah, pretty excited about that. I know, it's a silly thing to be excited about. So I have a couple of these mid-length boards from previous cuts, and they were kind of planful. They actually came off of these, and the space in here is 28 and change, and what those are is basically 58 inches, so it's going to work out almost perfect on those as well. Very little waste, and that makes me happy. Might be a bit gusty here. Each day's progress brings us one step closer to achieving our goal of having our own home. That's still a long ways off, but at least the outside, we're getting awfully close. And yet, you can see there is the reminder that once again, we are heading into a different season, and this needs to be done. So we're going to continue to push and get it done. And then we can get back to the inside work. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.